Hello, hello. Came here to answer your burning violin questions. So, if you don't know who I am, my name is Antoinette, and I run the New York City Violin Studio. So I'm here in Manhattan looking out the window. There are some huge buildings. I'm actually across the street from the New Yorker in my new studio, which is located right next to Port Authority. No, Penn Station. We used to be near Port Authority, but now we're near Penn Station. And I wanted to answer some questions today. I actually had a few questions that had been kind of building up in our group, adult violin students, and I would like to answer them for you a little bit. So, recently I had somebody ask me about the setup. Actually, I have a lot of students ask about the setup. And one thing to know is that there are different types of chin rests that are going to matter. In fact, this one doesn't even go across the tailpiece, which is fine. It's just a different type. And so here's what you're looking for in your setup, okay? So, as we know, there's the collarbone involved, there's the neck, and there's the shoulder. We want the body of the violin to be on the collarbone, though it's probably also going to touch your shoulder, if you could call that your shoulder. I mean, it's not there, obviously. All right, so we're here, and then the body of the violin is touching the collarbone. Now, obviously, this is pressed up against your neck, that we know. And what's happening is here, between the chin rest and your jaw, there's probably a bunch of space. So if I were to look down right now, there's so much, I'm not anywhere near the violin, right? I'm actually really far. If I took a ruler, it would be at least 2 inches away. So if I were to play right now, I would have to really squish my head down and hold it, and use my chin, which normally you don't even put your chin on the chin rest, you put your jaw on the chin rest. So, so that's not gonna work. So there are two options at this point. You can either raise the chin rest, which they have special chin rests that are higher, or you could add a shoulder rest. So the difference is when you add a shoulder rest, you're just lifting this to your jaw. Now I have all this space under, which would be filled by a shoulder rest. So that's the quick and easy way to do it. Over the years, I actually used to have a left shoulder problem because I used to wear a shoulder rest, and every time I would put the shoulder rest on, my left shoulder would crunch up to meet it, right? So I would have the violin, I would have the shoulder rest. No matter how good the fit was or how high it was, I would always put it on and go, hold it in with my shoulder. I would push in, which after a while, it causes a lot of tension on the shoulder. So eventually I did a lot of research, and I found out that you can play without a shoulder rest. About half performers do, maybe a little bit less. The thing is that the arm has to push up that part of the violin, which later I learned you have to do anyway, even if you have a shoulder rest. If you have a shoulder rest and you don't do anything and you hold it with your head, I rarely see it actually with the head only come up to where the strings are parallel to the floor like they should be. So anyway, what I did was I checked out a bunch of different chin rests, spent all the money and tried out these different things, and I was pretty happy with the center chin rest, which I don't have. I have them loose, but I don't have one on a violin. But basically, you see how this one is on the left side of the violin? They all come like that. So they make them so that they're in the middle, and usually those are also higher. Plus, when the violin is positioned there so that you can be in the middle, I find that it generally is higher anyway. Okay, so eventually I bought this chin rest called Cradle, Kreddle, and the whole thing about it is it's adjustable. So it's not adjustable in the moment per se. It is in terms of angle, but the thing about it is at the height, there's a little bar in there, and you can replace it out to go higher or go lower. So during my adventure of finding the right setup for myself, I probably went through all the different heights that you could get on the chin rest. But ultimately, when they came out with the newest version, which had like more of like a lip here on the chin rest, like this bumpy part at the end, I I found that with like a little, it's not on here right now because it keeps falling off, but like a little like rubber type pad, I think it's in my case, that was a really good height. So anyway, what I have right now is, again, the violin is on my collarbone, and then all I have to do is either look down from here, boop, now I'm in contact, or another way they say is to look to your fingerboard and then look down, which I pretty much only have to look at my fingerboard and I'm already in contact. It's kind of hard to show you, but I'm already in contact. So I don't need to press with my head. I don't need to have a death grip. In fact, most of what you're doing, you don't even need to press your head down. You don't need to like bite onto it, right? So because my arm is, well, I'm holding it with this hand, but my left arm is holding up the violin. You're doing everything, and then if you need to do, even if you want to shift up, you still don't even need to press down. But if you want to shift down, you have to hold it a little bit, because otherwise you would be pulling the violin off. And then of course, if you want to do vibrato, because it's a push-pull kind of motion, so like whether it's arm or wrist, I find that like going this way on the vibrato, you're pushing in, and going that way, you're pulling out. So technically you are kind of pulling the violin. So yes, during vibrato and during downshifting, your head does have to come down, but otherwise, I would be really gentle with the neck. The neck is so delicate in my experience and opinion. I would be careful with that. So hold the violin up with your hand, not your head. Okay, so what that brings me to in conclusion is, if your chin rest is high enough, if you want to spend, $30 to $50 extra dollars, you can get a higher chin rest. You can put it in the middle. So this one is adjustable, right? Like I could, oh my God, I just broke my chin rest. Okay, I didn't break it, but it's not supposed to do that. So you know how you can turn it, and this is one in particular, you can tilt it. I don't know, I think they're off Kickstarter and they have their own website. But this is, as far as I know, maybe the only adjustable one. I think there was one other adjustable one that I saw, but it was this this plastic material, but I don't know, it didn't feel right to me. It felt like the lip wasn't high enough, and so I couldn't like grab on, because what you want is, you want the bone of your jaw to grab, so like this part is in the soft part of your neck, then the hard bone of your jaw grabs onto the lip. Without that lip, I find it's pretty hard to grab on. In terms of shoulder rests, there are so many options. I'm going to show them to you. This is one of the classic ones. This little cushion, you can put that here. You can rubber band it to your violin. They make a thicker version where it's like twice the amount. That's like a nice simple solution for some. This is a similar one where it like rubber bands on. Actually, I would use this one, but my violin is old, so the points on the bout are like all worn out. So it's just not gonna like hold the rubber band. There's no like spot to put that. There's Coon, which is one of my favorite shoulder rests. It kind of looks like this. This is a Coon Solo, which is very similar, except you can adjust the width of it if you're switching violins because you're performing at all these different venues, right? But it does feel a little bit different. I think the pad is a little bit thinner, but I really like Coon. My second favorite one has been, to my surprise, Everest. So this is an Everest shoulder rest. Remember to get it in full size if you're getting it for yourself as an adult, assuming you have a full-size violin. All of these shoulder rests can be adjusted in some way. So like, see how this one has 3 holes that this foot could sit in, right? So right now it's in the middle, but I could put on either one. And if I want to make it feel lower, I would do this, right? If I want to make it feel higher, I would unscrew it so that it just sits higher. Another very not known tip, I feel like there's a better way to say that. Another lesser known tip is this. Instead of actually unscrewing the leg to get higher or lower, if you pull this closer to where the end button is, like that side's gonna feel higher. Or if you push it away, so right here's the end button, if I go that way, it's gonna feel lower. So that's kind of an immediate, really quick adjustment that you can make on the fly. All right, I feel like I'm just yapping here. I really should do a better job of letting you guys know when I'm gonna be here so I don't talk endlessly. Okay, that's some serious sun right there. All right, so now I want to give you my thoughts on Suzuki Method. It's a little bit of a loaded question because Suzuki Method is far and away, I think, the #1 way to learn violin in the US. In other countries, that's not the case. I don't know which countries. But I do know that I think in England they have a program which is similar called ABRSM. I forgot what it stands for. And it's basically the same thing where it's graded repertoire. But I really like their program because they also include scales and arpeggios, I think maybe even sight reading on their exams. And they have an exam that's like built in, whereas Suzuki is just a series of books, kind of like if you were in grade school and you were like, I'm reading a first grade book, now I'm reading a second grade book, you know, third grade level, that kind of thing. So that's basically what that is. I think I have a couple here. So I'm ready to tell you, like here's what Suzuki looks like. You can see, you know, book 1. So actually it goes book 1, book 2, book 3, all the way up to book 10. I have no idea what's in book 10. I don't know if anyone knows what's in there. Generally, as soon as someone hits like book 4, they know what's going on. They know how to read music. They know what to play. Maybe even before that, and they can go in so many other directions if they want to. So I know for me personally, my teacher had skipped several books, and then I eventually came back around and I was like, wait, I want to know what's in Suzuki book 6, 7, so I came back in there. But here's the thing. I think Suzuki Method is great for little tiny kids that don't understand fractions, math, the alphabet, and you just want to get them playing. I think it's cool. I love it. You know, I'm not a certified Suzuki teacher, so I don't know exactly how that runs. I do know that the parents are there and that they memorize the songs and they perform them and they spend a really long time on each piece. Really, really long time. But I don't like to do that with my adult students, and here's why. I hate the idea of an adult who could understand something opening up a piece of music. Like, this is the first thing that you do in Suzuki, is a variation on Twinkle Twinkle Little Star with 16th notes, 8th notes, staccato, symbols. There are just so many symbols that a first-time player will not understand. And it drives me up the wall that I have to ignore explaining all of that just to get them to follow me by ear. It could be done, it's fine, but this is why I like to do it only for kids. Like, look at this. So, like, variation B, you see, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And that is so intense to explain to somebody on day 1. And also, you're putting your fingers down, you're using every single finger as you go through Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. You're using 1, 3, 2, 1. I like a more gradated approach, which is why I wrote a book, Absolute Beginner Violin book. I can't believe I forgot the title of my book. It's on my website, nycviolinstudio.com. But because I think you should get the hang of bowing and sound really great and comfortable with that, and then start introducing the fingers, understand everything that's happening on the page. What is the sheet music saying? Can you keep rhythm? Can you count? All those things. Why ignore them when you can understand them? That's how I feel about it. So after a while, when somebody does have the hang of 1 or 2 strings, yes, cool, go to Suzuki. They have so many great pieces in there. I'm not like super in love with the exercises that they give, but they do have scales in there for each of the keys that you go through, which is good. It's like I would print it out and give it to a student otherwise, but it is in there. I don't know why I always skip the exercises in Suzuki and I just go straight for the pieces. Because like these are good beginner, pieces. And after a little while, you get onto like some Bach. Got your minuet 1, your minuet 2. It's good. I like it. I think I like every single piece in the Suzuki books, except for maybe the beginning of book 2, because that's just a little boring compared to how book 1 ends. But it's good. I like Suzuki for when you can read music. That's how I like it. I think it's a great series of pieces. Otherwise, you would have to just invent things like, what should I play? What should I go learn? So that's why I like it. It's if you want to play classical music. If you don't want to play classical, you got to scrounge and figure out, what songs you want to play. Unless you're playing fiddle, they have some good books for that. All right. So I don't think there's any live questions yet, but welcome to the viewer that I do have. Hello. I know these videos tend to get viewed more after the fact, so. All right, let's talk about one last thing. Let's talk about types of strings. So I would show them to you, but they look really similar. So if you want to get a good visual, you should go to this website called sharmusic.com, S-H-A-R. It's a great place to buy stuff online for violin. And you'll learn that there are 3 types of strings. One of them is a gut string. Like how people used to like catgut. Then there's another one called a steel string. That's like what a fiddler would tend to use. They don't go out of tune they stay in tune easily, or they stay in tune well. And then in the middle, there's something called synthetic core, and that's supposed to be a combination. So the gut string, originally there was no metal on it at all. It was just gut, basically sheep intestine lining, and there's like a knot at one end. You just throw it on your violin, and that sounds extremely warm and thick and full and like deep and resonant and dark, but it tends to go out of tune really easily. So eventually they were like, isn't there a way to have something in the middle between this beautiful warm sound versus this like metal string, which is just metal on metal and sounds very metallic, very harsh, and brash and loud. So that's when they invented the synthetic core, which is some synthetic material wrapped in a metal. If you look at your string, you'll see that there's like, you can see that it's wound in something. So what that does is it is the best of both worlds, and it stays in tune pretty well, but it also sounds pretty warm. It's a good happy medium. So you have to decide, what are you going for? Like I had this pretty cheap violin, and it always sounded very like bright, and I'm not going to say brassy, but it sounded very like just bright, too bright for me. Like, I don't know, it was too kind of metallic sounding. So I went full swing on the pendulum, and I got a modern gut string, which is gut, but wrapped in a certain kind of metal, whatever kind they used. And that was, I don't know, I found it on Shar Music. It's a pretty popular brand. And it was a Parastro string though. And it sounded great, and it made my violin sound like hundreds of more dollars expensive because it had a richer tone. Eventually though, I did get my current violin, this guy, which it looks dark, but it sounds darker too. And it just has like a richer tone, and it's just a nicer violin. So in this one I tend to use Obbligato. Parastro is the brand, Obbligato is the type of string. And it's really pretty warm. I like it a lot. So if you look at a chart of strings, like especially on that website I was talking about, sharmusic.com, you'll see that you can have bright sound, I don't know the exact word, I think they say direct, bright sound versus like a dark tone, something warm. and you can have it be louder, like it can project more, that's like more on the bright side, or it can be a bit more kind of dull, which doesn't maybe sound good, but it can be a good thing. So you have to find your happy medium, and you also have to think about your budget. You could be spending anywhere from $20 to $150 for a set of violin strings. But hey, at least they're not cello strings, which are way more expensive than that. Violin, the smallest member of the violin family, also has the cheapest products. The bigger the violin, or the bigger the string instrument, the more expensive it gets for all the stuff. Everything. Strings, items, So consider yourself lucky. While we're talking about buying stuff for your violin, I didn't know this until way too many years into playing, but you should think about getting a better bow if you haven't already, which I imagine is at least 90% of the people that are going to watch this. I did not realize that it makes such a big difference. Like, if you got your bow for free and you've been playing for more than a year, definitely consider getting a nicer bow. I found this series of bows that are in between like $100 and $200, like if you're on a budget, and they sound great compared to the free bows that you get, which they sell for like $40, but they're worth like, nothing. They're so cheap. And you get what you pay for. You paid nothing for the bow that you got for free, and that's what it's gonna sound like. So I don't sell items online. If you're in New York City, you can buy a bow from me. You can see them way back there in the corner hanging. But one site that just pops to mind immediately is I think there's a website called Fiddler Man, and he sells them. It's the one in that range, basically. I think I used to get them from somewhere else, but I know that he sells them. So it's the one where they're carbon fiber. They sound great. Anyway, all right, so I think that about takes care of all the questions that I have culled for this ultimately recorded experience. But thanks for joining me, and I will try harder to let you know in advance next time about when I'm going live. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for spending some time, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.